Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. Hope everybody is having a good weekend, whatever it is that you are pursuing for your life, for your family, for your future. I wish you the best, and I encourage you that no matter what you're facing, to continue on. If you're still breathing, you're still in the fight. There's so much more out there for you than what you see in front of you. No matter how good it looks, it can be better. No matter how bad it feels, it will definitely get better. You have to stay in the fight. You have to keep your mind focused. So that is my uh, hope and encouragement for you today, is that you don't give up, that you don't relent, that you don't turn back, that you remain focused on finishing whatever it is that you have set out to do. With that being said, let's move right in. I have to remind you that we are in the midst of a fundraiser. If you believe in the work that we're doing in the community, especially the things we are focusing on at this particular point in time, and you have followed me, or you know of me, or you believe in what I do, we need you to support the work. The link is in the description box. If you are one of those people who prefer to do Cash App, the organization's Cash App is also in the description box. Now that we have that out of the way, let's talk. Um, I think that at some point, the question has to be asked: when will enough be enough? And to bring lucidity and clarity to what I am uh, speaking on, this is more than what any recent event has to do with any particular recent event. Yeah, obviously there are some things that have happened, the shooting in Buffalo, a bunch of other things, and yeah, everybody's still reeling from the senseless killing of children and faculty at Robb School, elementary school in Uvalde. But I'm speaking on something more intense and long lived, and that is Black suffrage. I look at where we are. We consistently land at the bottom rung of the socioeconomic ladder. We are in last place in every statistical category that measures our mobility, our potency and power, our influence, and our autonomy. And when I speak of autonomy, I mean in the ability to do for ourselves and create ourselves. Let me explain something. The only way that you fight an institution, uh, institutions and systems, is with your own institutions and systems. Marcus Garvey told us that. Michael Meix told us that. Dr. Claude Anderson has been teaching it for years. Dr. Amos Wilson has taught it. I have been writing on it and teaching on it for almost 30 years now. I have created programs. I have done so much to try to bring this to the front. You don't fight the systems and the institutions through protests. You have to be able to deliver a blow when necessary. And what the universal language in this world, and definitely in this country, is money. If you can't impact somebody's money, you cannot influence the way they move, the way they think. You can vote for them and put them in office, but they're going to respond to the people who are contributing to their campaigns, contributing to their particular quote unquote super PACs and quote unquote special interests. And, there's so many different ways that people are getting money into the pockets of politicians while Blacks are picketing. At what point are we going to say enough is enough? At what point are we going to look at the horrible conditions in which our children attend school? When are we going to look at the fact that our children are not being prepared for school, that they are literally being institutionalized, and they are being prepared for failure, and at the very best to be complacent and compliant within a system that does not serve their interests or the interests of their families in their future? We are failing in that area. We are failing in the area of the perpetuation of the ideal of generational wealth and how that is developed. As I write my 25th book, which is The Quest for African American Wealth, um, I am constantly visited by thoughts of how we came close, but not quite, because we didn't understand. We had places like Wilmington, Delaware, Slocum, Texas, Rosewood, Florida, Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we thrived in our own communities, where we experienced autonomy. We understood economic science at a level that they did not expect in such a short period of time after being freed from slavery. And that scared them. And so those places were attacked, assaulted. There was always a reason for it, but it wasn't really a reason. They had been doing that. And the the thing is, while they understood economic science, our people did not understand military science. We did not understand, in order to have systems of autonomy, there must be a means through which it is protected, because the autonomy in it of itself is a threat to the systems that govern this country and line the pockets of the elite. And so you have to understand that there's always a plan. Do you realize that the powers that be have over 1,300 think tanks? And that's the last time I did research and actually checked. I mean, 1,300 think tanks. They have think tanks that deal with everything from stock market manipulation to military geopolitical ideals and manipulation, to how to keep certain underclass groups in an underclass position, means through which to uh, mentally divert, for lack of a better term, mentally divert an entire race of people away from power and into subjugation, and on and on and on. I mean, if it's education, it's finance, it's every area of living in that activity, how to sexually manipulate us, how to emotionally manipulate us. We are constantly being triggered because they understand how to trigger us. They've studied us, they know us, and it's a constant plan, one after another. And most of us don't get it because we've bought into the very system that is directly controlling us. You don't overcome a system by participating in the system. You overcome a system by countering the system. You overcome a system by developing an idea of how things work, and how things work when they move against you, and how do you counter what's moving against you. And you have to have a sense of autonomy. You have to be willing to invest in residential development, in Black business development, in Black education, in Black empowerment. You have to be willing to do that. You have to see beyond where you're sitting. You have to see beyond what you're being presented. You have a media conglomerate of over 14,000 different entities owned by predominantly 6 different men, controlling the narrative. Propaganda is a major tool. It's been used for decades upon decades in this country. Matter of fact, Adolf Hitler borrowed from the principles and ideals and concepts of propagandists in this country to create the propaganda he used to make the Holocaust possible. How do you get people to agree to the killing of that many people? Propaganda. The same way that the media is used to present Blacks as over-sexualized, over-criminalized, inherently violent, uh, intellectually inferior, and all the other ways that the media is presenting us, so that when something happens to one of us, nobody is really that upset about it. Nobody really cares, because that's kind of what happens to people like that. And most of us just keep it moving. We don't understand it. We're frustrated because we feel like we're not being heard. It's because we haven't created our own voice. We're screaming, but nobody's hearing, because we are operating on their platforms, like now. Thank God for my friend and partner, Neota Ure. We've created well, she created, I've joined, and am a part of Alt Black News and Alt Black Media. These are platforms off of social media that provide a voice and provide information and provide a perspective of current events from a Black perspective. In other words, how is it going to impact us? Not how is it going to impact America, not how it's going to impact the wealthy elite, not how it's going to impact the LGBTQ, not how it's going to impact Latinos, Arabs, and Asians. How does it impact us? We have to have our mind set up. We have to have institutions and systems in place to counter the institutions and systems that are working against us. You do not do that sitting around whining and complaining and posting, oh my God, shaking my head and sad on social media. It absolutely does nothing. What it does is, for those people who are actually studying you, it gives them an indication of where you are. Social media provides a platform for anyone who wants to study anyone about anything to develop an understanding of where they're at and how they're thinking. So, we are providing them the ideal litmus test of our helplessness, our hopelessness, and the fact that we don't have a clue of what to do next. They can see our frustration. What they don't see is organization. What they don't see is a determination to be self-sufficient. What they don't see is a determination to protect the minds of our youth. What they don't see is a determination to reunify and restore Black marriage, Black love, the Black family, because it is the literal bed of and foundation of Black empowerment. They don't see that, and so they're not concerned. Even voting is a litmus test. We only make up 13.7% of the population. We are the second largest minority in this country based on how minorities are calculated. So why is it important for them to know what we're voting and how we're voting, and the fact that we're voting? The thing is, with such a small percentage of the population, why is voting important to them, not to us, to them? It's a litmus test, as it is with any other group. It's a litmus test. What does it tell them? Nobody participates in something they don't believe in. So every time you show up and vote in large numbers, you say, we still believe in the system. And so they know they don't have to change anything. Why? Because you're still hooked. You still believe that if you show up, you vote, your person gets in, you're going to be okay. But there have been times your person has gotten in, multiple times. And in many instances, your person did more damage to you than the person you were told was the enemy. And it happens consistently. It's happening right now. And yet we consistently think that's the pathway to victory. But the truth of the matter is, the pathway to victory is power. Power is in the ability to execute and operate on your own terms. Power is the ability to move without having to have the permission and the resources of someone else. Power is being able to understand what your enemy is doing, how they're doing it, and be able to create systems to counter it. That is what power is. And that is what power is. And we're not operating. We are not operating from a sense of autonomy. We're not operating from a sense of power. We're not protecting our children in a way. When I talk about protecting our children, I'm not simply talking about physically protecting them. Obviously, that is a responsibility. That is an ultimate responsibility. Yes, B1, that is an ultimate responsibility, is to protect our children physically. But more importantly, if we're talking long term, we can't just protect their physical bodies and leave their minds exposed to what the media is giving them. If you think that media isn't getting to them, what do you think they're doing in their devices? What do you think they're doing when they're being bombarded with images on Instagram and TikTok? What do you in YouTube? What do you think when they're being told that the most important thing they have is their body? What do you think when they're being told that they need to go out and get a bag, but they are being told to do it in ways that will most definitely land them in prison or dead? What do you think is happening when they're sending these messages? That's what they're feeding our kids. And while their kids may have, do you realize that the most wealthiest people monitor their kids' screen time the most? Do you think it's probably because they understand how the media is used to manipulate and control? Do you understand that if your child is spending more time on that screen than they're spending in your presence, learning from you concerning your values, your interests, your principles, that what's happening is they are being redirected from the things that will empower them and put them in a position to do something not only for themselves, but for their family and for their community, for their race. It is something that we've got to do a better job of. I am in constant contact with other people who are boots on the ground, who are doing exceptional and extraordinary things. And the conversation is always the same. I'm doing the best I can, but funding is limited. I'm doing the best that I can, but I can't get everybody behind me. I'm doing the best I can, but nobody is paying attention. And but see what we have been conditioned to do, and that's how Black Lives Matter grifted us out 100 million. And I'm pretty sure a lot of that was white money too, because they played it to the T. But here's how it happens. We've been trained to move towards the thing that's sensationalized. I've had people come for the first time and listen to the content that I stream or upload on this particular channel. And they look at the fact and say, under 10,000 subscribers. Now, the original channel had almost 20,000 before it got shut down. But this channel has grown steadily but slowly. It still grows every month, but slowly. And people ask, with what you're sharing and what you're teaching, why don't you have more followers? Because we're not looking for substance. We're looking to be entertained. We're looking for something shocking. We're looking for gossip. We're looking for conflict. Some of the people who have gained the most popularity gained it through conflict. I'm not here for that. Number one is the only brothers I want to go after are the ones who have sold us out. I'm not finna sit up and spit box with a brother because he's doing something over there and I'm doing something over here. And now we're dividing our subscribers are now beefing with each other because we are beefing and now we're not getting anything done. We have enough division within the community without me doing that. If you notice, I'm never bad mouthing anybody. Doesn't that? It's some things that a couple of people who are well noted have done to me personally that I didn't agree with, and you never heard about it. Why? Because it would not have helped the Black collective. It may have even given me a boost. It may have put me in another stratosphere as far as followers, because it's a lot of people looking for a reason not to like that person. But I'm not going to be the reason. Why? Because that still creates conflict among people. It's not that I care one way or another about how that person feels about me. I care about the people that care about him. They're still Black people that I care about, whether they like me or not. And from what I gather, they don't have anything against me, but they're still following him. And if they find out I'm beefing with him, then it's like, we've got to have this thing. And that's a problem. That's division, but it's, again, how they've trained us to be. So we want it sensationalized. We want conflict. We want it shiny. We want it flashy. We want the gossip. Look at all the gossip channels and all of the subscribership and viral loads they get. And it does nothing for the advancement of our people. It does nothing for the preparation of our youth. When I created Black Men Lead, it was for, I started the research that led to Black Men Lead, just trying to understand a way to reduce violence in the community, especially violence being perpetuated by African-American adolescents and young adult males. And what I found is that when you properly socialize a young male, not only does the risk of violence reduce, the opportunity of creating wealth increases, the risk of going to prison decreases, the risk of dropping out of school decreases, the ability to sustain relationships increases, the risk of becoming violent in romantic relationships, intimate partner violence is reduced. And so I learned all of that. And so I created Black Men Lead for that. And then I worked with my wife, and coming out of her book, Ghetto's Forgotten Daughters, she came up with Restoring Ghetto's Forgotten Daughters, and the work that both of us have done over the years, we combined as far as the work I've done with Black women. I've been working with Black women forever. a big enigma is how I met my wife was discovering how many of our Black women have been sexually abused before the age of 18. It's astronomical and it's a problem, but it's swept under the rug because it's hush hush. We don't want to talk about it. Well, if we don't talk about it, we don't heal. If we don't address it, we don't heal. And unhealed trauma makes us vulnerable. Unhealed trauma makes us reactive instead of responsive. And so you create these programs, and you know they work because you're using them, but you know that more people than you can touch need to have it, and it's not happening. And that's happening in so many different areas. As a brother up in uh, Coatesville, uh, Pennsylvania, right outside of, I want to say, Philly. And his name is Elgin Baylor. He has a thing called Page Turners, where he's working with young Black boys about the importance of reading. He needs support, you know. But when you get the flashy things like Black Lives Matter, who already have big white dollars behind them with the whole purpose of circumventing a movement. See, Ferguson was real. It was authentic. It was more than anger. It was organization. It was the coming together of the groups. It was Darren Seals, Neota Ura, the person I just mentioned, who were side by side with Darren. And when I came in contact with them, this is what they were doing. I'm like, man, this is a real movement. And then they start saying, man, there's this group coming in, the Sean Kings, the Black Lives Matters, and they're actually drawing attention from the real grassroots movement, and they are pulling the dollars and the support with them. And we look up now, and now 7-8 years later, we're looking up and we're finding out that they've got us for at least 90 million to 100 mil. They buying houses, they investing, and they're paying their brothers and sisters nearly $1 million for consulting fees. And you can look at these people and know they don't know anything about anything to be consulting anything about anything, but they're getting salaries and contract dollars for money that was supposed to go through the restoration and reconstruction and development of the Black community to be a power force. That could have been the mecca of a complete transition, but we went for the flash. We failed for the flash. We lost sight of what was important, and we consistently do that. So they asked, yeah, you know, why all you have is X amount of subscribers? Because I don't shuck and jive, because I don't dance, because I don't pick fights for the sake of picking fights to get more subscribers. I bring to you what I've learned as a behavioral specialist, as a sociologist, as a father, as a husband. I bring you what I've learned. I've written 24 books. I'm currently writing 25 and 26. I bring that to you. I give a bunch of my, all nearly 1,600 video, 1,500 and something videos here. Close to 1,600 videos on this channel, all accessible and free, talking about everything from Black wealth, the Black Code of Conduct, the blueprint for Black empowerment, how you train and educate children, the importance of the Black family. It's all there, accessible and free. And I've done that because our people need it. And the work that I do in the community, I do out of love and in my heart for my people. I want to, as a mentor of mine, Dr. Anderson, has done, is leave a legacy. As a mentor, you know, of mine, you know, I mean, I got into the field of psychology because of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and I became familiar through her of Neely Fuller Jr. And then it was through that and a pursuit of an understanding that I came across Dr. Naeem Akbar, Dr. Amos Wilson. And from there, I found Dr. Claude Anderson and Dr. Joy DeGruy, and I moved on and I immersed myself in their work. The historians, Dr. Ben, Dr. John Heinrich Clark, and Asa Hilliard, and so many others. I immersed myself and I became a student so that I could have something to share and give. And in the process, I developed my own ideas, my own concepts, my own programs, and I have given it. But what I'm telling you is at some point, we've got to start creating and building. We can't, yes, do we have a right to demand reparations? That's owed to us. That's not a handout. You owe that to us for 246 years of free labor, for 12 years of Reconstruction, for another 10 to 12 years of convict leasing, for 70 plus years of Jim Crow segregation, for a continued push in serial forced displacement by way of urban renewal, redlining, which is still in place. They try to tell you redlining ended. No, redlining still exists. Then you got gentrification, you got mass incarceration. These are things that are still happening right now. You got the miseducation of our youth. I've written about that specifically and in detail twice in my 16th book, The Miseducation of Black Youth in America, and in my 24th book, Academic Apartheid. I'm trying to get you to understand that we are losing because we are taking an approach that does not have any efficacy. We are taking an approach that looks good and sounds good. It feels good because we are venting. Let me tell you something. You can grab your picket signs. You can go out there and you can throw hissy fits, and you can sit up and march, and you can take what you're going to do and who you're not going to vote for. But let me tell you something. If your protest is not underlined and underwritten by economic sanction, in which you're going to take your dollars and do something that is going to send a message to them, then it is nothing more than a collective temper tantrum. And they're used to that. They're used to seeing us tear up stuff. That's the only time we come together. That's the only time we unify, when we get mad enough to tear up stuff. But when the anger subsides, see, anger is an emotion, and emotions are fleeting. They're not meant to sustain or dictate what you do. They're simply an indication that something has happened. If you're happy, that means something you happened that you desire to happen. If you're sad, normally it's because of a loss. If you're angry, it's because you feel wrong. It's just something to tell you something happened. And then it's up to you to have an idea of how you respond to situations. We have no protocols in place. We have no set agenda of what we are heading for, what we are desiring, what we should be doing. And we have no protocols of how to respond when something happens. We're losing because we're not prepared. We're losing because we don't understand how things work. We are losing because we're trying to fight systems and institutions with words. Number one, if we don't understand the importance of connecting with one another, we're doomed. Dr. Anderson made that clear. If we don't understand the importance of combining our resources, we are doomed. If we don't understand the importance of supporting organizations and movements and groups and plans and programs that serve our community interests, we're doomed. If we don't gain an understanding of the importance of the Black family, we are definitely doomed. We are talking about a time when back in 1960, 75% of Black children, despite everything that happened in slavery and all of the things that were done to keep us apart, 75% of Black children were born in two-parent households. We're in now 2022 where 75% are born in single-parent households. We're working on reversing that, but there's a lot of work to do, and it's imperative that we do so. There's so much empirical data out there that points to the importance of being able to have two parents in the house. And we have to understand that there's literally a push to keep the Black man and the Black woman separated. And there's a constant push to keep the wedge that is driven between us in place. And it's easy to bite on because we're so hurt and we're so beat up and we're so disappointed and we feel so betrayed, because most of us have been hurt. Most of us were hurt before we ever got into romance. A lot of the anger that women have towards black men ain't because somebody broke their heart and cheated on them. It's because dad didn't do what dad was supposed to do, or dad did other bad things, or Uncle John did bad things. It's a bunch of black men don't like black women right now because of what mama did. And we don't want to talk about it but we are out there being toxic to one another. And they're literally capitalizing on it. That's something that we are going to have to do a better job of addressing. That's something that we are going to have to get past. I want you to really truly understand that there's, so much that we can do, but there's very little being done. Hey, we're investing in looking good. Nobody looks as good as us. We got the least amount of money, but we look good. We dressed, we fly, the whips tight, and living check to check, pay period to pay period. No reserves, no wealth to pass down, no hard assets. One stream, one income stream. Support nothing black. Maybe I'll go buy some maybe I'll go buy some black hair care products, or I'll get me some lotion or something. But I get really and truly investing now, man. I gotta go shopping. I gotta go out. And the thing is, we're parting ourselves into irrelevancy. We are becoming increasingly irrelevant to the structure of the way society is being run in America. We've already been replaced as the primary minority in America by Latinos, and they've already taken off, and because they know how to move as a collective. We've been outmaneuvered by one of the smallest minorities in here, and that's the LGBTQ community. They wield more power than we do, and immensely less smaller than we are in number. So what does it say? It says that we don't know how things work. And because we don't know how things work, we consistently move in ways that work against us. We are losing because we refuse to take the time to learn. It's too much out there. It's too many people that have given their blood, their life, their heart, and their soul to being an instrument of knowledge and an instrument of power for our people, for us to be where we are. From Marcus Garvey and Carter G. Woodson to Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark, to Dr. Welsing and Dr. Wilson and Dr. Akbar, Dr. Joy DeGruy, Dr. Howard Stevens, all these people that I've had a chance to connect with in one way or another over the course of my life, and to sit up and look at what we've done with what they've given is sad. I remember when I reached out to Dr. Claude Anderson, I didn't know what to expect, but I went to the Harvest Institute site, got contact him, and emailed him. And the email was intercepted by his wife, Joanne, and she responded, and at the time, I think he had just turned 80, 81. He's up there now. And he had turned something like that. And she was telling me that she has to intercept his emails, because if anybody gets close to him and they're talking about Black empowerment and economic growth, he's going to respond yes to whatever they ask him. And she says that his health was starting to fail and he was really needing to be ref. So she intercepted and she said, send me what you want him to see and I'll make sure he gets it, and he'll give me a response and I'll get back. And that was the beginning of the communication. So I got to deal with both of them. But one thing that he made extremely clear, that if we don't change where we are, how we move with one another, how we spend our money, what we support that one another are doing, we have to be the primary investors in residential development. We have to be the primary investors in Black education. And I don't mean education in the sense of solely talking about academic achievement. I'm talking about holistic education, and I've talked to you about that. I've told you what my definition is over time. First of all, the definition of education has to stop being the attainment of academic skills, and it has to start becoming the preparation and empowerment of Black youth to go out into a world that's inherently hostile towards them and not only compete but win. And then you say, okay, well, how do you holistically prepare and educate a child? It starts with understanding who they are. One of the biggest problems that we have is we have entire generations who are in an identity crisis. They don't know who they are. They know what they're being told by institutions and systems that don't represent them, who they are. They are being told that they're not beautiful. They're being told they're not smart. They're being told that they don't carry value, and so they're chasing the value. They're chasing what the Eurocentric idea of beauty is. They're chasing what they've been told makes them special, and they're leaving the sense of their true self, their true nature, their true power, because they were never told, they were never taught, it was never inculcated into their psyche of who they really were. So they're walking around and they are living a life attempting to be something they're not, and they will never be as good being something they're not as they are in being themselves. And that's on us. That's where education has to start. You educate a child first by teaching them who they are. That's why in the Black Man League, we're socializing young Black males to understand you do have a place. You do have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to your community to be wealthy. You have a responsibility to the community to own your own businesses. You have a responsibility to your community to be a protector. Your community should be safe because you're in it. Your home should be safe because you're in it. Your children should be safe because you're in it. Your wife should find your presence the safest place in the world. And that's what they're being taught. Why? Because that's what scares them, is a Black man who will stand up, square his shoulders, hold his head up, and defend, teach, lead, guide, cover. Those are the things that we are going to have to understand and face, that we have a responsibility to these children to prepare them. We could talk and type, oh my God, sad and horrible and everything else means absolutely nothing. Where's your energy going? Where's your expertise in any area going? What are you financially investing in outside of looking good and coming across as having made it? I don't care what they think about me. I care about what I'm leaving my people, starting with my family. I care about how prepared I'm leaving my family, how prepared I'm leaving my people. I don't care what they think of me. I'm not trying to impress them. I'm trying to empower you. We've got work to do. I'm not going to hold you any longer, but we have work to do. I'm going to be coming to you on a daily basis, and I'm going to be systematically breaking down the areas of weakness in our community and what needs to be done. I'm going to be sharing with you the Blueprint 1.0, what you can find written on the Odyssey Project site under programs and resources. But we've got work to do. If you want to help me, support my work, because I'm going to leave everything I've got as a legacy for those who follow. And I'm really concerned that we aren't leaving enough for those who follow to even do as good as we've done. I look at this generation. They're entitled. They're completely unaware. They're easily manipulated. Now, there's a part of them that won't fall for the okadoke and can't be moved. The problem is it's not enough of them. I'm worried about these babies who think everything has to be given to them and they don't have to work for it. They're not prepared. They shun education. They don't want to read. They don't want to learn. They just want the bag. And that if you tell them that you can go get half clad and take pictures and you can get the bag, they run in large numbers. If you tell them you can go out and you can spit destructive lyrics about women, about kids, about drugs, and you'll get paid, they're running and doing it. That's always been there. But the level at which it's happening now is closing in on catastrophic. So we've got work to do. Again, as I get ready to check out, I'm challenging you. Support the work we're doing. Get behind it. Black Men Lead is a chance to really change the trajectory of so many Black males. And that actually has a positive influence on the entire community, especially our daughters. Because right now, what I can tell you from the work I do, from all the things that I see, we've got far too many of our sons killing our daughters. We got far too many of our daughters with no sense of self and identity about who they are. So anything that makes them feel good gets their attention. We failed. On that note, look, I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. For those of you who want to support the work I do, the link is in the description box. For those of you who don't want to use the link or prefer to use Cash App, the Cash App account handle for the organization is also in the description box. We've got work to do. On that note, I'm out of here.